The truest of miracles is that highest frequency. Like when you find your purpose and you truly live it, no matter what, it's like the walls come down, And I feel like these, those cherubs come out of the clouds with the trumpets because your ancestors are celebrating, the planet and all dimensions are celebrating when you find that and you live it.
Welcome to Living in the Miracle Zone. This is the place to be if you want to live in the flow of synchronicities and miracles in your everyday life. I'm your host, Marci Shimoff. I'm a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a teacher in The Secret, and I'm the creator of the worldwide program, Your Year of Miracles. And I have spent my life studying happiness and studying miracles. And in this podcast, we bring to you extraordinary miracle stories that are inspiring and groundbreaking miracle tools that will show you how you can live your most miraculous life. And it's my heartfelt intention that we have a fabulous time together. So welcome to the Miracle Zone. And today I am joined by the amazing John Newton. Hi, John.
I'm grateful to be here.
Well, John is, I have to say, I teach this program, Your Year of Miracles. I've been teaching it for this is my 11th year. And John is the only guest expert that we've had every single year because he is a huge fan favorite. And I love how you're always there, really with a total dedication to help people. Well, I know that you've been doing this work since the 1980s, helping people have great physical and emotional and financial and spiritual well-being. And it really came out of an awakening that you had in your 20s, which I'm going to ask you about. And you really, what your work is about helping people clear the unresolved negative imprints and the burdens and limiting beliefs from their life and from their family lineage. What you do is called Ancestral Clearing. Tens of thousands of people have benefited from this, including me. I had an amazing experience of clearing when I was in years ago. I went to speak in Ukraine and Russia, and my relatives my ancestors are from the Ukraine. And when I was there, I was having this like almost panic attacks, and not exactly that, but a lot of anxiety. And I called John, and he just did phenomenal work. In one session, I felt such huge clearing that I had a fantastic rest of my trip there. And I've seen you doing work with people on all levels. I've seen people have physical healings and emotional healings. And it's just, I love your work, John. I love your work, and I love how it impacts people. So, well, I really want to start, as I do with every guest on this show, with hearing your own story about how I know you did not have a miraculous life in your early years. And how did you come to live this miraculous life that you live now?
Wow, that's a big question, a tall order. So the shortest version I could come up with in the time we have would be that, like you said, I grew up with a lot of suffering, a lot of stress, a lot of dysfunction in the home, chronic pain, depression, severe. I'll spare the details. And so I got on a spiritual path the moment I moved to New York City to be an actor, which is why I moved from North Carolina. I was like, I wanted to pursue that. And
I'm going to just stop you for a nanosecond on that, because some of you right now are going, I recognize him. And that is because you do perhaps recognize him from a number of TV shows back in the 80s, I think. Yeah.
I'll get to that.
Okay. All right. Sorry. You go ahead.
No. I mean, it's a long and winding road that leads back to my door. Anyway, but yes, we can touch on that. Not too much time on that, but so when I was in New York pursuing acting, right, and training, and I immediately got into a spiritual path because I was suffering to such an extent. I realized there must be a better way. And so I started meditating in martial arts and got into health consciousness and just everything that I could find. And a lot of things I found as far as the healing kind of things were things that didn't work. But I'd pick up on a thing here, a thing there, and I started to develop kind of a repertoire of ways to help myself. And it was very exciting because I was getting help. having these cosmic experiences and spiritual awakening and clearing a lot of old hurt, stress, beliefs, things like that. And at the same time, my acting career started taking off. I started, working. I had many jobs in television, also feature films. I did a lot of theater, TV movies, and I made a good living, but I loved the spiritual path. And I loved the fact that I could help myself meant I can help other people. So I was helping other people for free while I was making a living professionally as an actor for 25 years. I mean, I did okay. And the healing is where my soul was. When you talk about a miraculous life, the acting was like a job. And I was grateful to get the work because most people don't get work. And I was working, I was making a living. But the spiritual path and the healing it made my heart sing. And to me, the truest of miracles is that highest frequency, like when you find your purpose and you truly live it, no matter what, it's like the walls come down, and I feel like these, those cherubs come out of the clouds with the trumpets because your ancestors are celebrating, the planet and all dimensions are celebrating when you find that and you live it. No matter what it is, it doesn't have to be we're curing cancer, right, or going to the moon. It can be being the best parent, but coming from your heart. And to me, that's a big part of the miraculous, is being able to do that. So I was very grateful. Finally, I laid the acting thing aside because I just felt like this is why I'm here. And so practicing a lot of what you just shared earlier, helping people with physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I've worked in hospitals. I do this work. I worked at the Betty Ford Center, specializing in chronic pain and addiction. There's been a lot of mainstream openings, which I was surprised because, it's a little woo-woo, right? It's like, what is this? It's like strange, but it's effective. And that gets the ear, right? It gets the attention of people who are at least open, right? So I would work with doctors and therapists and helping their patients, their clients. And of course, I have my own practice and love coming on your incredible Year of Miracles events because that's what they are. It's just so exciting. And you're doing such great work there. So I feel like this, what I offer is to support anything, whether you're an artist, an accountant, a physician. It's really basically rewriting your program. We all have a program that limits our life to varying degrees. So we want to rewrite that. And it's not held in the mind. So we want to address where it's held. So we work in those realms and clean it up so that we have the space of possibility, what's in our heart can come forward. Did that answer your question? Sorry.
It did. What you name what you do a lot of work in as ancestral clearing. So I'd love for you to explain why is it ancestral clearing? How are you dealing with ancestors? How does this work for people? And how did this even come to you?
In the many, many different paths that I was kind of moving through and integrating and kind of coming up with some of my own processes, it became very obvious to me we're the momentum of our ancestors, our ancestors that came before us, and they've been through a lot. And there's known attachments to the DNA called epigenomes that we've all heard about. And so these can store trauma, and it can pass through lineages all the way to now. It can also skip. So if our great-grandfather or grandfather was in the Holocaust, our parents maybe weren't super affected, but then I'm affected. It's like, what is going on? Why do I feel this constant anxiety or whatever it is? And it's literally because these earlier kind of events weren't processed. They weren't resolved. Our ancestors had to push through. They had to heat the yurt or the cabin or whatever and get food, find food, right? They didn't have an Amazon drone to come and drop off a shopping bag. We don't realize how lucky we have it, although a lot of you do. Our ancestors struggled. And not just that, there was tuberculosis, and I'm not going to go down the whole litany of the things they suffered with, but a lot of it affected their foundation, affected their way of seeing life, their flow of abundance, their quality of relationships. All of these kind of things are affected by these unresolved pieces, stress, you can call it karma, if you like that word. Really, in the ancestry, there's so much there. But I also consider that we have a soul, and that our soul could have existed prior to this life experience. Now, some people don't believe that, so I don't push it, but I do include it because it doesn't hurt. In other words, why did we drop into this family, right? It's like, is that just happenstance? Is it random? I don't feel like the universe does random. I feel like there's physics to everything, right? So we want to resolve these old pieces so that we can get our life back and that, it can help us with every single area of life, as I said. But a big part of the work and, a big part of my early path was spirituality, a higher power of our heart's understanding, whatever that is for you. If it's consciousness, if it's God, if it's, a specific deity, whatever it is beautiful. But that really, accessing that omniscient source energy gives us the ability to do miraculous things with our bodies and lives. So that's what we're doing.
I'm so relieved. I was so relieved when I met you and found out about this work, because and many people know this story, I came into this life depressed with anxiety. I had a great family that I was born into, and it didn't make any sense to me. But for years, I would say, I feel like I came in with past life or ancestral PTSD.
Yeah.
And that was the only way I could explain it. And otherwise it was like, why? And it was as though there's this cellular memory, and I couldn't seem to shake it on my own without some of the guidance, like the guidance that you've shared and all the other things that I've learned about living a miraculous life. And I feel as though we aren't just here for our own healing and ourselves, but when we heal ourselves, they say, I don't know who they is, but they say that we heal 7 generations before us and 7 generations after us. I don't know if that's true, but I sense that so many of us are here to do the healing for ourselves and to clear some of the lineage. What's your sense of that?
I completely agree. I don't necessarily agree. I know some indigenous cultures believe or talk about the 7 generations. I think it's different for everybody. I think sometimes it could be 100. I don't know that it works necessarily when we're talking about the creator or God or source or higher power, divine mother, whatever you want to call it. It's way beyond the normal linear sense of time. However, we don't deny, our lineage. We want to make sure that we include things like the burdens, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial kind of hurts, wrongs, struggle, injustice, things like that. We want to make sure we resolve and clear that. And can it help them? Absolutely, right? Because we're all connected. And so when we do our work, it is reverberating. Maybe we could say 7 or more generations into the future. Absolutely. As far as the past goes, that's a more complex question. And I really don't feel like we have so much time for that here because everybody has their own karma, right? We're not our sister's keeper, our brother's keeper. But at the same time, us doing this can have a reverberating effect. But at the same time, every person, every soul has its own journey. And so it really falls back on that, like how it serves that soul. And does that soul, are they doing what they're designed to do? Are they out of integrity in some way? Maybe they're hurting other people. Are they going to get the effects of what you do? Maybe. But I don't know that it's a black and white thing, and I don't know that that's even what you're asking. But I just feel like it's the general sense of what you said, absolutely. I completely agree.
And what I'm so struck by, and you're going to, towards the end of our time together, you're going to walk us through an experience of this as well, which I always love and always feel something powerful shifting from. But what I really appreciate is the importance of doing this clearing of energies so that we can live more in the flow of life in every way, what I call the miracle zone. So I'd love to just hear from you. What have you seen people happen when what's your experience? Maybe you could tell a story or two of what's happened for somebody when they have this clearing. I know you don't like to call it healing, but a clearing, what shifts in their life? How do they live more of a miraculous life?
I couldn't even begin to answer that because we get hundreds of emails a week, literally. I could say tens and tens and tens of thousands of people have had their whole life turned around. I've seen wild things that don't make sense in the modern medical world, like people come out of comas. I've seen eyesight come back. I've seen people get out of wheelchairs. At the Betty Ford Center in the pain management, we had people would leave their walking sticks, their canes, their appliances, because they were able to walk out of there. A lot of them had chronic pain in such a debilitating way that a lot of them didn't have a normal life, right? So helping them to resolve and to reset the nervous system so they don't carry that in the body, because our bodies know how to heal, right? We know how to release stress. So if that's not happening, there's something else going on. This work is about helping to resolve the something else. We don't call it healing because I really feel it's important to see our doctor, our therapist, get the proper diagnosis and treatment. This is to support those actions, those channels of professional care. You know, I work with them and I know the importance, but I do feel like it's nice to handle the energetic realms. It's nice to handle the spiritual, karmic, whatever you want to call it, because doctors, they don't have the luxury of the time to spend with patients that they want to. The system isn't set up that way, and they'll tell you. I mean, they feel rushed, and it's just the way it is. So we like to take the slack of some of that and empower people to help them to help themselves. I really feel like that's important. I don't say, come to me and I have all the answers. No. I hold a mirror because I want to help people. It's like when you light someone else's candle, now they can light other candles, that kind of thing.
What would you say are one or two things that we all can do to help us live more in the miracle zone?
Well, there's two main things. One is to identify what's in your heart. I don't feel like it's like we have to find this path out there. We have to find this perfect relationship. We have to find the perfect job. I really don't feel it works that way. I feel like that's all already in your heart. So we want to peel away the other, everything that's blocking us from seeing, perceiving, and matching frequency with that, which is inside of us. And then the law of attraction applies. Most people use the law of attraction first without clearing, resolving, and handling a lot of the debris, the static, the limiting beliefs, and they strive so hard to make things happen, and then it's 3 steps backward after 2 steps forward, and life becomes a struggle, and a lot of times they give up, or they think, oh, the spiritual path, that's not for me. It's sort of like someone saying, an addict saying, rehab isn't for me, or, recovery's not for me, it doesn't work. Well, seriously, it works if you work it, as they say, right? So we really want to identify what's something I really want to do. What's in my heart? Why am I here? And then we just want to resolve what's between me and that showing up out there. It's already in us. We want to match frequency so that we bring it to us. We don't go to it. It comes to us. That's how reality works. That's literally the law of attraction, the real one. And so I would say, you can start with a belief or two that you have about it. So if we want to be an artist, I have this belief that says, well, I got to work at the bank and make a living, and I can do art in the garage on the side. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's a belief, right? So there's only 2 reasons things don't show up for us. One is that it doesn't serve us, right? Or it hasn't served us yet. And we wouldn't want something that doesn't serve us or hasn't served us yet. We wouldn't want it when it's not time, right? So that's great. The other is that we're carrying something that's pushing it away or blocking it. Or if it's in the case of something like an infirmity or a diagnosis or a disease or something, if that's not healing, it's either serving us in some way, right? Or will serve us for a time being, right? Not necessarily forever, of course, right? Or there's something in me that's contributing to it. It's not saying it's our fault. It's not saying we're doing anything consciously or on purpose, but it's just physics. Right? How could it be any other way? Unless we really believe that it's a random universe and there's a mean God up there that loves to punish us and watch us suffer. That doesn't exist in my reality, so I don't feel it works that way. But some people do. It's very interesting. So those 2 things, clear what's in the way between you and that miracle or that life you want, but also cognizing what is that? You don't have to see all the details, but you get a sense of it. I want to help people, or I want to travel, or I want to inspire, I want to share insights. Great, you don't have to know the details yet, that'll fill in. But just cognizing that and then seeing, well, what's keeping us from doing it right now? Oh, well, I have this, and this reason. Well, those are just beliefs. Clear those, and then there's nothing standing in the way. Then you start to gravitate, and that starts to show up.
I imagine the beliefs that I see consistently are beliefs about ourselves, that we're not good enough, that we can't do it, that we're, and so what do we do with those beliefs?
Well, those are great. Those are the ones you want to identify. Not everybody's ready to see, like, what if I'm not enough, or they'll think I'm a fraud, or what's wrong with me? Even though that's a question, it's still a belief. And so most people aren't even willing to see those. Those are deeper ones, right? Most people are at the surface like, oh, life's too difficult, or it's a man's world. And there's always evidence, by the way. There's always going to be evidence to support beliefs. But you can shift the belief and see that there's also evidence to support a different belief, right? There's all kinds of beliefs out in the world, and they're all true from a specific point of view. So we want to have the specific point of view that supports the beliefs that are in our heart. But what you're talking about, like, I'm not enough, what's wrong with me, it's all my fault, those are the kind of things that come from unhealthy coping, we could say, or maladaptation in the sense of early life experiences, like parents got divorced, oh, it's my fault. Right? I couldn't save them, couldn't save the marriage or whatever it was, or mom's suffering, mom's depressed, I must have done something wrong. It's all of that a lot of times us as children, we make it about us. And even though consciously as an adult, we know, of course it wasn't our fault, it's not about us, but there's some version of us that can carry those old beliefs and they can affect our life in the contemporary, in the present. And it happens all the time.
Well, since this is such a universal kind of core belief area, you said you would do a clearing with us, a short clearing. Is this something that we can do now and have that be whatever you feel would be most helpful for helping people release and live more in the miracle zone?
Oh, I'd love to. That's great. So I'll just give a little framework for it. So what we'll do is we'll identify something you'd like help with. We're not making a claim to treat, diagnose, or offer any result, right? We're just offering energetic, spiritual. We're connecting to the Creator. We're using a recipe. It does involve some specific forgiveness around specific kinds of burden, lots of different burden, but also including lots of different people, not just our family, our relationships, but our ancestors and their relationships. And there's all kinds of different angles on that. So silently, I'm going to be going through that recipe of peacemaking for you, all of you, including, even if this is recorded, I believe this is recorded, so it doesn't matter. We have people on our programs that only experience the recordings and they have just as deep and profound experience as those on live. So, because the Creator's everywhere, every when, so there's no limitation at all to that. So we'll identify something you'd like help with. If it's my lower back hurts, great. Or my husband makes me so frustrated. Or why can't I have that raise? Or it's just something, but pick one thing. We don't want to go into overwhelm. We just want to pick one thing and then put it in a sentence. A story is not our friend. People tell their story to themselves, to others for years. It doesn't help. A therapist, yeah, that's different, but this isn't therapy. So put that in a sentence, the issue you'd like help with. And then you're going to notice the sensation in the body. There's a place where you feel it. Possibly many places, but you're going to get a quick 0 to 10 of sensation. It's the level of intensity. 10 is the highest, 0 is none. And then I'm going to offer this peacemaking for you silently. You can, if you feel you can handle it, take some slow, deep breaths into stillness. You can take slow, deep breaths into silence. I prefer to take slow, deep, conscious breaths. I mean really super slow, super deep, conscious breaths into the sensations. It's as if you're illuminating the sensation with breath. Now, you don't have to do anything. You're included in the clearing here that we're going to offer. But sometimes it's nice to kind of be a little interactive. So if you can take those slow, deep, conscious breaths into any of those, and as I offer this, I don't claim to do the work. Remember, the Creator's doing the work. I'm triangulating with that higher power source. You can call it what you want. And then we're triangulating you, your higher power source, and the burden. And in that, right, it's not us doing any healing. It's this higher power that's stepping in, almost like a room that's filled with shadow. We just turn the lights on, and it handles the shadow. That's kind of a very simple way of saying it. So that's what we'll do.
And I know sometimes you also speak a little bit in there, so we know what's going on. If there's a little bit of that during that.
I can do that if you like. I can offer a little bit of that to start, and then I'll get into more silent because it gets really intricate, and I speak really quickly. It's very difficult to understand because I have so much to cover in the time that we have. But yeah, I'll offer that a little bit. So go ahead and identify what it is you'd like help with. Just in one issue at a time, put it in a sentence. Notice the 0 to 10. If your 0 to 10 is only a 1 or 2, you might want to pick something else. Or change the sentence. In other words, the sentence, if my back hurts, maybe it's not hurting right now. Maybe it comes and goes. But when I have the thought, I can't go on that trip with my grandkids because my back hurts. Oh, now there's other sensations, right? So there's a way of being creative. we get into that with the work. But for here and now, let's keep it simple. But sometimes you might want to craft that sentence in a more specific way if you can handle it. It can bring up other sensations. We want to feel. What you feel is here for you. So once you notice the sensation, you can take those slow, deep, conscious breaths into sensation, into what you're feeling. Not concepts of anger, sadness, no. Sensations, pressure, tension, heaviness, swirling, vibration, cool, piercing. Those are sensations. Breathing deeply, slowly, consciously into those. As if illuminating them with breath, as we said. I'm going to work silently for about a minute or so, and then I'll come in as Marci requested or asked if I'd offer some out loud, and I will be happy to, but I don't want to start with that because I don't want to distract you from your sacred breath and sensation. It's a union, it's a marriage in the present moment. So here we go. So noticing the sensations. Sometimes things move, sometimes they spread out, sometimes they dissipate, sometimes they disappear. We don't make a claim, but just notice where you are, notice what you feel. If you want to pick something else, that's fine. If it's down to like a 2 or 1 or maybe even a 3, you can pick something else. Everything's connected and related, but only one at a time. That's super important. Get that sentence, notice the sensation, then take those slow, deep breaths into the sensations. It's a present moment experience, and there's so many things going on that I couldn't even begin to describe in the time that we have. So I'm going to give you a moment to itemize something. If it's the previous one and there's still some significant sensations, check in with the sentence. Maybe the sentence has changed. It may be the same sentence but less of a charge. It may be a different angle or even a different, completely different sentence. So we want to check in and reference that. Then notice the sensation 0 to 10 beneath it. As you take those slow, deep, conscious, meaningful, when I say slow, I mean like 15 to 20 seconds in, 15 to 20 seconds out, like stillness breath into the sensation. And as you're breathing, I will offer this part out loud. Infinite Creator Source, that which answers our prayers. We love you. Thank you for loving us. We ask humbly and gratefully to please help you, all of you, all versions of you, your family, your relationships, your ancestors, and all of their relationships throughout all relevant time, space, and dimension for all hurts and wrongs, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, suicide, incest, murder, rape, abortion, infidelity, miscarriage, war, battle, Holocaust, genocide, persecution, injustice, slavery, hurts or wrongs to the earth, life of the earth, native, indigenous, First Nation peoples. For all the times you weren't nurtured, loved, supported, and cherished in the ways that you needed. For the times you felt rejected, abandonment, for all scorn, ridicule in the family and the relationships, for all who came before you, for all that led up to this experience, these issues that are showing up in your current experience, for all that led to it, all that arose from it. For all conflicts, differences, misunderstandings, for the times any and everyone projected their prior unresolved burden, issues, and beliefs onto the Creator, onto consciousness, onto another. Times another did that to you, all of you. For all the times you, meaning your family and lineage as well, were hard-headed, stubborn, judgmental, too male, overrode your heart, feelings, emotions, feminine self, disrespected the feminine or masculine in yourself or another. For the times you attacked, blamed, judged, and misunderstood others, times others attacked, blamed, judged, misunderstood you. For the times you didn't let go, let God, source, or creator, times you felt or believed the creator turned their back on you. You meaning the whole family and lineage, for all that led up to that, all that arose from it. Please help all of you to forgive and release each other. Please help all of you to forgive yourselves for the highest good, please, and thank you. One moment. For sexual experiences that you couldn't handle, you being the whole family and lineage as well. For the times anyone was inappropriate with any of you sexually, times you didn't feel safe. For the times there was unhealthy sexual animal expression, times there was oppression of healthy sexual animal expression. For all times there was unhealthy religious programming. Times you weren't told the whole truth and nothing but the truth about the Creator, about love, about men, about women, about life. Please help all of you to forgive your parents, grandparents, siblings, children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents, siblings, children, grandchildren. Forgive you. Help you forgive yourselves, please, and thank you. Help you forgive lovers, spouses, lovers, parents, lovers. Help them all forgive you. Help you all forgive yourselves, please, and thank you. Help you forgive and release cousins, aunts, uncles, step-in-laws, hidden, secret, foster, adopted, and other significant people, being family members, relationships, role models, authority figures, teachers, neighbors, friends, acquaintances, doctors, nurses, therapists, priests, nuns, rabbis, law enforcement, legal counsel, guru types, healer types, all military leaders, all political leaders, all enemies, perceived and real. Help them all forgive and release all of you. Help you all forgive yourselves for the highest good. Please and thank you, please and thank you, please and thank you. Creator, source, all that you are, please and thank you. And just notice, how does that feel? It's like a cosmic spiritual shower. A shower of light, specifically handling. It's sort of like, sometimes soap is good if we're working in the garden, but sometimes we're working on our car. We need maybe something with a little pumice or some orange citrus base, right? Whatever it is, but we get more specific sometimes with some of the burden and some of the people involved. And then, of course, it expands from there. There's a lot more to it. But that was some.
Don, thank you. My sensation was at an 8, and it's now at a 3.
Nice.
So that's really dramatic in such a short period of time. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that. And just all the work that you do. It seems simple on the surface, and it's very profound and deep underneath it with so many results to share. In fact, I'd love to hear from people what they're experiencing as well. So, well, John, I want people to know how they can find you, because of course I know that a lot of people are going to want more information about you and your work. And I know you give a monthly preview call. It's free, and everybody can go to healthbeyondbelief.com/pound registration. And we'll give that in the show notes as well. And before we end, John, is there anything else you just want to share with people about this beautiful work that you do and about how it and about living in the miracle zone?
Yeah, it's we call it health beyond belief because it's beyond belief. It's beyond what our parents and our ancestors believed was possible. And so we like to see, like, it's really, once you integrate this kind of work, we're not saying this is the only path. Obviously, there's a lot of beautiful work out there. But then it's sort of like when you experience miracles every day, you realize this is our natural state. It's not something out of the ordinary. No, that is the ordinary. We just have been living in an absence of for so long. We thought that was normal. And so that's the fun, qualities of everything that you're offering and what I strive to offer too, is that it's our birthright to heal. Nowhere is it written we have to suffer. And if it was written by a human, and that human had their own stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like the creator's like, I want humans to suffer. Now, is there a grand plan to things? Absolutely. And I'm not pretending to be able to tell you what that is in every moment. But I just stay truthful and simple in each experience of the moment. And life is so sweet when I make it that simple, when I allow it to be that simple. And also just letting go of this old stuff that we've carried for so long, it does start to feel normal, but it's really not.
Yeah,
so.
We call it the new normal, but it's the always been normal, which is the miracle zone and this kind of life and living in flow and living in feeling good and living in creativity and living in good relationships is our birthright. It's what we're on the planet to experience. And I think I feel like we are at a time on the planet where we are really, a lot of people are standing up and raising their hand and saying yes to this. I say yes to this, and we're all finding each other. And I'm so glad that I got to find you, John. And
I feel the same way.
I will end with a quote, and it's a quote from John Newton, who said, "Your natural state is joy. And when you clear and resolve everything else, joy shows up." And I say yes to that. And I really say yes to that for everyone. And I just want to thank all of you for being here and listening to this. I hope that you are feeling inspired and uplifted and more in the miracle zone. I certainly do after our time together. And, if you enjoyed this, please share the Miracle Zone love with your friends and family. If you want to live more in the miracle zone, you can take our 2-minute superpower quiz. It's free. To find out what your miracle superpower is, you just go to miraclezonequiz.com. And remember that your life of miracles is waiting for you. It is your birthright. And simply by being here and listening to this, you are taking a step forward into the miracle zone. Enjoy, and I send you lots of love.